Welcome to the Yoga Therapy Hour. I'm so happy to be with you today and to introduce you to a lovely human named Posture Ellie. That's what she goes by. And, we start out in this conversation talking about physical posture, defined as being able to move well and be pain-free. But the places that the conversation goes is where it always goes. How is your physical body manifest of what's going on for you mentally, emotionally, and maybe even spiritually? That these are not disconnected. We know through yoga philosophy that the physical layer, the energy layer, the mental emotional layer, even how we are in relationships, even the spiritual layer, we know they're all part of a web that cannot be disconnected one from the other. So we are going to talk to Ellie about physical posture, some of the common patterns, but I would even like all of us to do our homework and then take that a few steps further and say, what could that be connected to mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? And I think as we ponder this for ourselves and for our clients, we want to be sure not to tell them, I think you are XYZ. It's more that the client or the student gets to discover that for themselves. It's svadhyaya or self-reflection. We as the practitioner are holding space for the person themselves to not be led directly into these deeper areas, but as you'll hear Posture Ellie talk about, it just so happens that as the body starts to open up, we get these realizations and it just becomes so obvious. We can't ignore these connections between body and breath and mind and spirit. So let's go meet Posture Ellie. And I think you're really going to love this episode. Welcome to the Yoga Therapy Hour. My name is Amy Wheeler. This is season 10. We've been here about 3 years together on the Yoga Therapy Hour podcast, and now we want to go deeper. This year, we'll be studying the 8 limbs of yoga, and we really hope you enjoy the depth of this season. Welcome, Ellie. It's so nice to meet you and have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I was just saying that it feels funny because I've listened to your voice so much in the last few weeks, so it feels funny to be directly chatting to you today, but thank you for having me.
Soon enough, you'll be hearing your voice on the podcast. So,
oh no.
Where are you joining us from?
I live in Derbyshire in England. So it's a national park called the Peak District. And I'm basically in the centre of England. I'm about 2.5 hours away from London.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to start off with just a little tidbit. When I saw your website and all that you're doing, I thought this is brilliant. The simplicity and the impact of working with people on their posture, I think it's underrated.
Thank you.
So first I just want to know what made you come upon this idea to become Posture Ellie?
Well, I love that. So I got into posture through yoga. So, I am one of the world's biggest fans of yoga. I think it's wonderful. And I found yoga in 2017 when I was going through a really tough part of my life mentally. I used to have a corporate job. I used to work in London. I was very go, 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 nothing health-based, nothing spiritual. It was all just very kind of how much money can I make? How far can I go up this corporate ladder? And that type of thing. And I had this growing sense of unease, which I think in hindsight, I realized was actually my intuition sort of popping through saying, something's wrong, you need to do something about this, you need to change. And I guess at the time, I didn't trust myself enough to kind of listen to that intuition. And I kept myself in London for longer than I should have been there, trying to pursue somebody else's idea of success. And that all came crumbling down around me after a few years because I started having panic attacks. I started getting something called disassociation. So I had these really bizarre episodes where it's kind of like you float out of your body and you're looking down at yourself like you're in a computer game. It's the only way I can describe it, but you're sort of just totally out of your body, and you crash back into your body and then you're back in reality again. But I had a few of those. And eventually I started actually listening to what my body and what my brain was telling me, that it wasn't happy. It didn't want to live in a city. It didn't want to push corporate life and money and all that stuff. It wanted something totally different. So I came back home to where I live, left London, quit my job, and I felt totally hopeless in this time. I really was like very unhappy, depressed. I'd gone from being really anxious and kind of overwhelmed and busy to sort of feeling like I had nothing in my life anymore. I felt like a real failure and I didn't know where I wanted to go. And thankfully for me, at that time, that was when I found yoga, and it was the big warm hug that I needed from life. I'm so grateful. Firstly, in a way that I had the mental health problems and things that I had going on because of the fact that it forced me to create this change. But secondly, I was so grateful that I found yoga in that time. And I just very, very quickly got addicted to yoga, both the physical practice of it and how much I felt like my body was changing, but also the people that I met through yoga I loved. But most importantly, and I think this is what hits most people when they get really into yoga, is not the physical stuff. It's not the incense. It's not the yoga mats and the Lululemon leggings or any of that kind of stuff. It is that mindset shift that happens. And you just realize I have absolutely everything I need inside of myself. And I just need to be taught how to utilize this superpower that we have, which is to be the best person for ourselves in our lives. We've got it all inside of us. And yoga showed me that. And so it really inspired me to want to work with people somatically. I wanted to do something in this world of movement because of the transformation that I'd felt for myself. But where I live, it was quite a small city, and there was already so many yoga teachers. And I just thought, and this is pre-COVID, so pre everyone being online with, various platforms and things the way that it works now. And I just thought, there's no way I'll make enough money being a new yoga teacher in my city when there's so many more experienced people than me. So that was what kind of drove me to find something similar, but a bit different. I initially trained to get a sports massage qualification. So I got a sports massage qualification, and it was really helpful. And this is absolutely no way to be negative about like sports massage or massage, because I think there's so many amazing things about it in terms of human bonding and relaxation. And I do think it relieves tension out of the muscles and things like that, releases the fascia. But when I finished the course, something just didn't quite sit right with me, because I was like, we're treating the symptoms of tension here. We're not treating the reasons why that tension has crept into the body in the first place. So then that led me on another what do I do next? And that was when I found the Egoscue method. So I'm trained in something called the Egoscue method, which is an American thing. It was set up by a guy called Pete Egoscue, and he has some clinics sort of franchised around the States. But I read his book, Pain Free by Pete Egoscue, when I was on this mad quest to try and find something that I wanted to do. And as soon as I read this book, I was just like, this is it. This totally makes sense. The methodology is so simple. It's so logical. It's so easy to understand. It really, really is empowering. There's nothing damaging about it. It can literally only help people. And from there on in, I've just been on this rabbit hole of being obsessed with posture, because the more that I do it, the more that I realize it's so all encompassing, and it's actually not what people think posture is all about.
Oof. That was a story.
I'm good at talking, sorry.
It's exactly where I wanted this to go. I tell a lot of yoga therapists that they're kind of worried about, are we crossing scope of practice into physical therapy or, all the different things? And I say, if you only worked with people on their posture, if that's the one thing that you did on the physical body, you would change people's lives. So what does good posture mean to you?
Love this question. Thank you,
And
Amy.
maybe how has it changed over time, if it has changed?
It really has, actually. So I'll tackle that in two slightly different sections. So, what good posture is, and this is so important to get out there so early on, is literally the complete opposite to what everyone thinks posture is all about. So everybody, like literally everybody, when you say the word posture, everyone sits up straight, they yank their shoulders back, thrust their chest up, and they stand tall like this rigid soldier. And that is a posture, but that is not good posture. That's a forced posture. It's artificial, it's stiff, it's rigid. And what posture is all about, having good posture, is about fluidity of movement. It's actually, I just use it interchangeably with your musculoskeletal system or your movement patterns. When we're talking about good posture, what we are actually talking about is your body's ability to move well. Doesn't mean you have to be really muscly. It doesn't mean that you have to be like really thin. It doesn't mean that you have to be really like athletic or do loads of crazy stuff. There are plenty of people who are really athletic who actually move really poorly in a biomechanical sense. Good posture is about thinking of all of the various parts of your body, your eyes, your jaw, your fingers, your diaphragm, your toes, your calves, your psoas, all of these bits that we like don't think about when we're doing typical exercise. If we're not thinking about these things, they stiffen up, they get weak, they get dysfunctional. And as certain parts of the body break down, it means that the whole unit of the body can't move with harmony and efficiency. And so therefore people start getting aches and pains and things like that. And so what posture is all about is restoring lost movement to stiff parts of the body. And if we do that through posture exercises, but of course things like yoga lead us towards that same goal, Pilates, like lots of things are similar. But if we work on that stuff, what happens is we naturally will have good posture. So we will naturally just stand tall, straight spine, shoulders back, an ease of breath, a sort of sense of presence as you walk into the room. The good posture comes from being able to hold yourself naturally and fluidly and relaxed, not standing rigid like a soldier with loads of tension, because all that does is actually breed more tension and more rigidity into your physical body. But I also think your way of being, your way of life. And then to answer your second question there, how has my opinion of posture changed over time as I've been working on it? It's kind of gone from being a very simple physical thing to actually being like, oh my God, this is everything. Everything is wrapped up in your posture, your emotions, your trauma, everything that's ever happened to you in your body up until this point feeds into how your body holds itself, how you react to the world around you. So it's been this journey of me thinking like, oh, I'm going to help people get rid of their back pain, their knee pain, their shoulder pain, whatever it would be. And yes, I absolutely do that. That's my bread and butter. But just like with yoga, people come to yoga because they want to get flexible, you know, they want to touch their toes, but you start doing it and you realize, oh my God, it's actually not really about that at all. It's about everything that you learn along the way, and it's about that connection back to self. So when we start really digging into posture, yes, it's how you look and your shoulders being back and feeling good in your body, but it's about creating this environment, this kind of vessel that allows you to be the best version of yourself as well. So through good posture, you will just shine in the world around you. Like that's what I think more and more the longer I do this.
Oh, there's so many bits of goodness in there. A couple of them I just want to throw out there. When I go to the gym every day, I look for where the tension is in my body, and then I do little exercises for those parts. So every single workout that I do is just like a tuning in and figuring out, oh, that my hip is stuck today, so I have to do that thing. And so my workouts look really, really weird. Occurs to me when I hear you saying this is that a lot of the first work might be finding interoceptive awareness of where those tight spots are And even if you don't know how to release it yet. So, is there an aspect of that to the work you do? And how do you help people tune in and figure out, oh gosh, my right hip is constantly hiking up, or my left shoulder is rolling forward in protection? Do you teach people interoceptive awareness?
Absolutely, yes. So that's what I get people doing at the start of all my classes, during my classes, at the end of the classes. But, the way that you described your gym experience there is really lovely to hear, but I suspect highly unusual. As you say, you might look a bit strange in the gym. But so many people go from being zero, at a desk. They've been hunched at a desk. They've got their long commute. They flop on the sofa at home. So much of our work time, our commuting time, and our leisure time is sat on this chair or a form of chair that we become really disconnected from our sort of primal, natural human nature. And I truly believe that we are all wired naturally to be very embodied, be very aware of what's happening and able to read our body. But because we have lived this very unhuman lifestyle for most of our lives, we get pulled away from that human intuition that we have, and we become very disconnected and numb. And then because we get fed that we need to exercise and we need to get our heart rate up and all of this stuff, which yes, of course we do, but because we get fed this information that we must do exercise, people then go from 0 to 60 because they're going from their desk and spending many hours of the day, potentially for decades in that position. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to train and do couch to 5K, or I'm going to go and run a marathon, or I'm going to go and start doing the gym. And they've forgotten this middleman of movement. So they've forgotten the kind of 1 to 59 of movement, where actually as humans, as hunter-gatherers, we were designed to be pottering, walking, gardening, foraging, finding wood. It's not CrossFit and marathons. Most of our movement patterns were these very gentle practices that were just our lifestyle. And we've forgotten all of that stuff in the middle. And there's this big mismatch where you've got all these people trying to go to the gym, but they have absolutely no body awareness because they're missing out on this middleman. And so what posture does is it gives you that middleman back, but it takes patience and commitment to this, because it is like learning a language where we've got to learn the language of our body again. And it comes through these skills, like you mentioned, like interoception and just having a sense of where your body is in space and what's going on. And so when I first start working with people, or people do my classes and my programs and things like that, a lot of the time they might say things like, I don't have any pain in my body. I don't have any tension in my body. And I'm thinking, I think you probably do, but you just can't feel into it. And I wouldn't say that to them because I'm not saying that they're wrong. But generally what happens is the more that they start unlocking their body through coming to the posture classes, they start looking back in retrospect and they're like, oh, I did have a lot of tension in my hips. I did have a lot of tension in my neck. So I think the way that this actually starts is not necessarily through trying to make people become more body aware in that first moment when they start off. It's actually when they look back, they realize I was in a lot of pain and I didn't realize it, or I was in a lot of tension and I was really, really stuck. But the more that they do that, and the more that they know, have that increasing awareness and grasp of what their body should feel like, the more they then build this skill to be where you are, where you're like, my hip feels hiked, my left shoulder feels forward. People can really, they do learn that when they keep going. And what I do is constantly ask people before a class. I'll say, we'll do a standing assessment, close your eyes, shake off tension, tune into your body. Where is painful? Where is tense? Where is imbalanced? When they start doing this, oftentimes they're like, oh God, these people are crazy. None of that stuff's happening. But slowly but surely, they do start really building this picture. But I think it comes through just practice and actually just not being too hard on yourself, not expecting too much too soon, and all the bits fall into place, but you just have to keep going with it. Throughout my classes, I'm constantly getting people checking in and sort of saying, we're doing this exercise. Where is your right shoulder? Where is your left shoulder? Touch your bottom. If you are firing your glutes, you'll feel your glutes kind of squeeze underneath your hands. So we use different ways to try and get people to connect in, but it is certainly like a difficult language to relearn again, but one of the most worthwhile things that you can do, I think.
Let's take just a little pause and talk about something that's really exciting. I teach at the University of Minnesota. There is something called the Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing. And we are doing some groundbreaking work over there. We offer these classes 3 times per year, once in April, a 4-week session, also in July, a 4-week session, and again in October, another 4-week session. These classes offer an opportunity to study yoga therapy within this university environment that values rigorous inquiry, evidence-informed practices, and respect for the ancient wisdom traditions. Each of our courses at the University of Minnesota Bakken Center for Spirituality is designed to help you understand how yoga can influence your nervous system, support emotional regulation, and contribute to integrative health and well-being. Whether you're a healthcare provider seeking new tools, or a yoga teacher or yoga therapist who is expanding their practice, or a lifelong learner interested in the science of yoga practice, these classes provide a structured and supportive way to deepen your skills. We'll have one series on low back and hip pain, another one on upper back and neck pain, and a third one on insomnia and anxiety. We hope to see you over at the University of Minnesota. Your participation strengthens the growing community of professionals who are redefining what care can look like in modern healthcare and education. All right, let's get back to the episode. I love that you use that word language, because it really is. If we tell them about something they haven't been experiencing or maybe never experienced, it's like a different language.
Yeah.
In their minds, their body is fine, right? It isn't until you start to unravel it and unpack it that you're like, whoa, that feels much better. I want to credit you with that. We can only find that interoceptive awareness through time and through practice. That Talking about interoceptive awareness, I see it too. It just doesn't land. Like, you don't know what you don't know. So what are some of the most common patterns that you see are connected to maybe stress or dysregulation, or these people like you used to be that are sitting in an office all day long? Can you tell us some of the main patterns?
It's interesting because I think that certain same causes show up differently in different people's bodies. And so the first thing I'll say is that you have, I think everyone can picture, if they're not themselves, they will know somebody like this, like a typical type A person who is push, 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 do, don't have time for yoga, it's pointless, I need to be doing my HIIT exercises, corporate job. Like, this was me, to-do lists, busyness, every moment of the day full, not someone who kind of sits around contemplating and meditating and doing yoga and things like that necessarily. But the type A person might be really stressed, but they don't necessarily know that they're really stressed because of literally what we've just said. It's that kind of disconnection. So this totally was me. I didn't realize how messed up I was. I just thought this is what everyone felt like all of the time. People who are type A are not necessarily the people that are kind of like shoulders stooped, head down, hiding in a corner type posture that people might think of. The type A people are the chest puffers. They're walking in like wide legs, like rigid hands, like power stance. But with that, in my opinion, shows a level of peacocking or insecurity, because it's like they can't just show up for how they truly are. They're having to put on this like bravado front. So their stress or their insecurity or their kind of rigidity of the way that they see the world like shows up in that kind of power stance in a way. Like, it might help them present themselves in a room, but it's feeding stiffness and tension into their body still. And that rigidity, you'll see it in the fact that they'll often be like quite flared in their rib cage and kind of arched in their lower back because they're puffing that chest out in that peacocking way. They often do have a lot of stiffness and tension through their hands and arms. There's a lot of like gripping of jaws and gripping of hands. And it's a kind of, I can't let go thing,
These are getting very, very piercing.
Sorry.
I'm laughing because, when we look at this, this may be a different topic, but the listeners will understand when you have a very, what we call in yoga and Ayurveda, a highly pitta person,
Yeah.
it's everything you're describing. And they oftentimes do not have any self-awareness that they're showing up that way. I said, we do not have that, right? So it's
Totally.
interesting to think about this. All right, I love this. Let's keep going.
And again, this is all like conjecture and, theory. It's not me saying that everyone is like this, but this is kind of where my mind goes. Those types of people often are quite restricted around the bottom of their rib cage because they're breathing in, but they're not exhaling and letting go enough. And when we breathe in too much, but we don't exhale enough, our diaphragm gets really locked up. So it kind of perpetuates the flared rib cage, lower back, puffing up the chest thing. We get really stiff around the kind of waist. And I see that a lot in these type A people. There's just like a rigidity all over their body, but it's because they're holding on to stuff that they don't even realize that they're holding on to. But on the flip side, I don't want to say a type B person because I don't think that's quite sort of right. But you do have that more, that sad posture, that defeated posture that people think of, like the heavy head, the stooping shoulders, the drawing in on yourself in a fetal position. That type of body is showing stress in a kind of, is in a different way. It's a collapse almost. I've given up. I'm not holding on to the same type of stuff that the type A person's holding on to, but I'm holding on to myself. I'm protecting myself and I'm keeping myself small. And those types of people will stress out their breathing patterns because of the collapse of their rib cage. They're also going to struggle to breathe. And for both of those types of people, the struggling to breathe then really perpetuates a cycle of stress in the body. So, what comes first, we don't know. Like, is it the emotional stress that causes the physicality, or is it the physicality that starts then feeding into the emotional state? But I think there's probably both of these things working in tandem all of the time. But then when we get ourselves stuck in this loop of bad breathing patterns where we're not using the diaphragm and we're not using the nose, we're forgetting about the exhale, we're kind of over breathing, our diaphragm locks up, and then the head has to shift forward because the head is seeking the most efficient, the best way that it can get air. And if we're not using our nose and we're not using our diaphragm, our head has to come forward because that's the easiest way for us to kind of mouth breathe. So for so much of this forward head posture business that you hear about, yes, it's people being on their phones and their devices and their heads are dangling forward and we kind of get stuck like that. On top of that, forward head posture is our body's way of seeking the best breath that we can take in the absence of having the strength through our nose to pull down into our diaphragm. And if we were doing that, our head would be a lot further backwards. And so then when the head is too far forwards and the breathing is off, the poor breathing is going to send the body into this like spiral of stress and fight and flight and all of this kind of dysregulation. But then the shoulders are coming up around the ears as well. And everything is connected. And there are so many things that we could say in some ways are a sign of stress in the body. And actually, I think if you look at my work and how I deal with people, like I'm looking at people's imbalances, one shoulder being higher, one hip being higher, the head being forward, this type of thing. I'm looking at that kind of physicality stuff. But all of those bits and pieces, I believe, ultimately deep down relate to stress in some form or the other, be it an emotional stress, be it our stress from our breathing patterns, which have gone awry, be it the stress of being sat down, because I think being sat down for the human body for really long periods of time is really stressful. We might not register that, but our bodies are designed to move and shake off trauma and experience these, what we call neurogenic tremors, which are what animals do when they shake stress out of their body. And so many things that we're doing are causing us stress, which gets reflected into our posture, but we don't necessarily even recognize that those things might be stressful for our poor little human animal bodies.
And do the people you're working with eventually figure this out too, that this is not posture, this is mental, emotional, neurological, maybe even spiritual? Do they start to understand those connections?
The people that stick at it, yes. So like me when I first came to yoga and I thought, I want to get flexible. And then it opens up this big gateway. Most people come to me because they want to get rid of their back pain, their shoulder pain, their knee pain, or whatever. That's their initial motivation. Some people give up because that's how things go. You know, some people give up on yoga, some people give up on learning a language, people give up on things that they start. But for the people that carry on and start getting into it, it gets to the point, I believe, where you sort of can't ignore that side of things. It becomes more, again, like what we said, it's with the retrospect, you can see these things more clearly, but you kind of just can't deny it. And I think that the emotional side of things is what makes people so addicted to it. So yes, the posture exercises that we do make our physical body feel relaxed and calm and nice, and we sleep better and we can digest food better and we can breathe better and all of these things. But it's the addiction, I think, of I've cleared my mind, I've got rid of some stress, I've worked some trauma out of the body, because we can have such interesting, and I can't really explain them, but I know that they're good, but people have the most crazy emotional releases where I've had them before, where you just feel these memories that have been stuck in the tissues of your body. And if you do the right thing and you hold it for long enough and you allow your body to actually experience it, and you don't let your brain get in the way of blocking it, you can have these really strange tidal waves of old memories that you didn't even realize were stuck in your body. And the more and more things like that happen to you without you kind of meaning it to happen, you kind of just can't deny the fact that this is all just one big lovely mess. It's all connected, and we have to make sure that we are looking after ourselves in each of these different ways in order to move ourselves towards the best health that we can. We can't just be having talking therapy. We can't just be moving our body. We can't just be trying to find purpose. We have to be working on all of these things a little bit all of the time. But I think that, you know, posture therapy is a really good way of starting to open up that new door and a new way of seeing the world, just like yoga was for me.
Yeah, I have this theory that when we started these dysfunctional lifestyle patterns as a form of survival, whether that's I have to sit at my desk to make money to provide for my family, you know, whatever it is, not enough movement because I'm too busy, you know, all of it. That at first, I think our bodies did talk to us and tell us like, hey, this doesn't feel great to be sitting 8 hours. But then after a while, things just started to like not communicate anymore. Like, I've tried to give you the message, lady, for so long. You're not listening. So I'm just going to go numb. Right.
Yes.
And then I feel like with everything that we're doing in yoga, and it sounds like what you do also, we have to walk that back. We have to take it from the numbness or the disconnect back through the feeling again, which can sometimes be uncomfortable, and release emotions, as you have said, back to I'm in a relationship with my body, so that when it talks to me, I'm going to respond much more quickly. I'm not going to do this for a week, ignoring it. I'm going to find a way in the next 30 minutes to get up from my desk and do something. I'm seeing you, Posture Ellie, kind of like move your shoulders back and down a few times.
Always.
But it's an immediate like, okay, I've been maybe sitting like this.
Yeah.
Opposite, right? Not to
I fidget constantly because I'm always just like, oh, I'm on a chair, I need to get going again.
Right. But that's what we're trying to teach people to do, I think.
Yes,
is
absolutely.
To respond in the moment like, ooh, my neck is feeling a little tight here. Okay. Let's just observe that right now.
Because I talk about it in my book, which has just come out, called Posture Power. I mentioned this, but I also think a massive part of what you've just said there is conditioning when we're children. So obviously children are these wild little things that are the most connected probably to our kind of primal human real way that we are really deep down. And children at a certain point start getting told off for moving too much and fidgeting too much and don't touch that, get off that, stop moving, sit still. And we are literally kind of getting emotionally blackmailed into being still, not listening to what our body wants to do, like not following those impulses and those instincts, which I'm not saying are always appropriate, but we have to have some reining in. But in our world, it's like our whole world is designed around being stationary, not about moving. And therefore, that intuition that we have is being driven out of us, not just by the environment that we're in, but because the environment that we're in is making people think that being still is more appropriate, so you're not smashing things or whatever. And when that is happening to you and you're really little, of course you've got to numb yourself out, because your instinct is, I want to run around and be crazy because I'm a child, but I can't because I'm at school. So I have to sit in this chair, and I'm a bad girl if I get up and run around. So I have to sit still. I have to sit on my hands. And that's that beginning of your intuition being stripped away from you, and this conditioning towards sedentaryism. But the way that we cope with it, I believe, is through numbing out. Exactly what you said. You know, your body wants to shift, it wants to fidget, it wants to keep you moving. But if you don't allow yourself to do that, or if you can't do that because you're told off by somebody else, your body is amazing because it just goes, you know what, let's just pull the shutters up and let's numb ourselves out. And that's exactly what happened to me with my disassociation. My disassociation was my body's only way of trying to get me to listen to the fact that I wasn't doing anything to look after it ever. And for a long time I could cope because I was numbing, and the disassociation was like the worst numbing experience, like actual disconnection. But all it was a way of my body trying to finally get me to listen.
And just listening to you, thinking it has so many implications for trauma and people with things like DID, dissociation disorder, that if we can't listen and hear what's going on inside, maybe out of survival or, many, many reasons we wouldn't be able to listen and hear, that the dissociation will occur.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that one of the most uncomfortable parts of the posture process is what you said about learning to feel again. So for so many of my members of my platform, the people that do my classes and my courses and stuff like that, their survival mechanism has been ignoring pain or numbing out difficult emotions. That's what's got them through to this point. And they're not broken for being like that. It is an amazing adaptive response that the body has, but we can't be healthy and happy and live in that type of body. We have to confront those demons at some point in some way, and movement totally can help you do that. But when people start doing posture exercises, they start feeling things for the first time, and then, they panic because they're like, something's wrong. I can feel my hip. I can feel my shoulder. I'm getting hot. I'm getting sweaty. And it's like, great. You're feeling your body again. This is wonderful. You're not just numb to it all. But for that person, it's understandably, it can be really quite scary, because you have to go through that process of feeling all the things before eventually everything calms down, because it's worked its way out of your body. You've sorted things out. You're back at peace again. And you then can have this really healthy relationship where the body gives you a little sign and you can adapt, and you'll carry on in that way. But yeah, it's a scary process to have to go from being numb to feeling again. And when I was going through it, I just remember that I had months of like, I want to stop crying. Why won't I stop crying? Why can't I stop? Every time I did a yoga class for a few months last year, I was going through some personal stuff. And every time I did a yoga class, I would cry in the Shavasana. And I went back to my old patterns, even though I know better now, but I went back to my old patterns of being like, why are you crying all the time? You need to stop crying. And it's because our world is telling us that like crying is bad, but actually it was just a release. It was just something I needed to go through. There was nothing wrong about the crying. It was just poison leaving my body. It was just the bad stuff going. And hopefully somebody listening to this is giving them a bit of reassurance that if you start feeling more stuff when you do yoga or do posture or do anything, it's probably something that you need to experience and feel in order to move forward a step. And maybe you need someone holding your hand and helping you with that. But, I really, truly think better out than in with basically everything.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. I mean, so many of us are somatic practitioners, meaning we're dealing with the soma. And yet we even forget that we're disconnected. And I've been angry for 3 days, but I don't know why. Or I've been crying every day in Shavasana and I don't even really know why, right? So the work is just endless.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more that you do it, in my opinion, the more I learn, the better I get objectively on the outside in terms of like the results that people get and the amount of clients and the testimonials, the better I get, the more I realize how little I know. Every single week, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know anything, because I'll learn a new concept or have some sort of new thing delivered to me. So it's wonderfully fun. And luckily for me, I just find it more and more interesting the more that I do it. But it is totally endless. Like, this is our life's work, whether or not we work in the somatic field or whether we are just a human person living in a human body. The most beneficial thing that you will ever do in your life is trying to connect to your body as best that you can. No matter what you do, you'll be the best parent you can be, you'll be the best employee you can be, you'll be the best self-employed person that you can be, the best friend, the best auntie, the best anything. You don't want to control your body, but you want to have a relationship with your body where you communicate with your body, where there's this give and take. If you can have that, you will be the best version of yourself. So it's just very, very worth going through all of the tears and frustrations and confusion.
And it's a big deal. I mean, it's part of why we're here as humans. And we didn't just have to, if you look at it from a spiritual sense, people say, well, why do we have to come and go through all this suffering? Well, being in a human body, taking care of it, having a relationship with it, and showing up as your best self because you're embodied, I think that is a huge part of what we're doing here.
Totally.
So tell us about your book. Is your book for practitioners? Is it for general public? All of the above? Tell us about it.
Thank you. So I would say all of the above. It's called Posture Power. And my idea with this book is I love reading, and I don't find reading difficult at all. I read a lot of books. I can read a lot of very boring books, a lot of very dry books, philosophy, anatomy, books that other people would not want to pick up and read, most people anyway. And what I wanted to do with my book was to create a book that gave you that same type of information, but gave it in a way where it's not too wordy with the anatomy. It's not too lofty with the philosophy. I wanted to make this a starter book that is very accessible for absolutely anybody that picked it up. So I talk in you've heard me talking on the podcast. I think I'm quite like a colloquial person, but the way that I talk now is how I talk in the book. And I wanted it to be more like a conversation between friends than an academic text, or it's not a textbook like that. It's a tale. I'm trying to tell a story of the human body in a way that's really fun and digestible, but educational at the same time. So in the book, what I do is at the beginning, I outline myths about posture. So we've spoken about a few of them already. Like, everyone thinks posture is just yanking your shoulders back, but what is posture actually? So I debunk a bunch of posture myths about how I don't believe age causes pain, and debunking posture myths and setting the scene of the context of our human body as well. So like the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, what we evolved to do, how our current environment is so different, why we've got to consider our modern beds and modern chairs a technology that didn't exist thousands of years ago, and how these things create these mismatches in our body. And it's not to say I am going to go and live in a cave and get rid of my bed or get rid of a chair. But when we have that understanding and the knowledge of the context, it helps us to be clearer on things that we might need to change in order to help ourselves. So the first third of the book is about that. It's just about what we mean by posture and what's going wrong in our environment. So the middle third of the book is other hunches, I called it. So like I kind of said a bit earlier on, lots of people think that this is about just getting rid of back pain, knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain. But I also talk about how poor posture impacts your circulation, your neurological function, your breathing. I kind of put some theories in place about how I think posture puts stress or not stress on your reproductive system. So I kind of talk about how I think posture impacts the other systems in your body as well. And then finally, the latter third is practical stuff and how to get started. I would love to have done more practical stuff, but my details in my videos are so much that I couldn't put too much practical stuff because, as you will know, it's like a picture can only do so much and writing can only do so much. You have to listen and you have to do it. And I wanted to point people towards my like YouTube channel and stuff like that really at the end. But there are exercises and things to kind of get you going to start with.
Okay, so tell us, what is your YouTube channel and what is your website?
My website is posture-ellie.com. My YouTube channel is at Posture Ellie, and my Instagram is at Posture Ellie as well. But if you head to any one of those places, you'll get links to all of the others as well. So I'm quite easy to find, I like to think. But I've got a lot of free videos on my YouTube to kind of get you started, posture routines, posture theory, that type of thing.
Lovely. Well, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. And I've heard of this book, Pain Free. I want to go back and check that out again, too. So how do you spell Peter's last name?
It's Egoscue. So it's Egoscue.
Yeah.
Pete Egoscue.
Such good things about that method. So
it really is. That's what I'm trained in, but I call it posture therapy, the Egoscue method. It's the same thing. But if you read that book, it will just hopefully make total sense. And it really can help give people hope and take a slightly different path, maybe with the things that they're trying to get rid of their pain. Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day. I appreciate us connecting through the Zoom call across the world.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Ellie, for being with us today. And she and I both agreed as we said goodbye that we could talk about this for hours. There's so much more to say. One thing that I wanted to add in, but I didn't want to interrupt Ellie because she had so much goodness to offer, but I feel like I want to at this point. And that is when we're kind of retraining the physical body, but also, as you know, the mental, emotional, spiritual body, when we're retraining ourselves to be in relationship with our bodies again, maybe because we've gone numb, we've ignored it due to survival needs. When we start to retrain it, what neuroscience is showing is that slow, subtle, very mentally focused movements are the key to reprogramming the neural pathways, and that great big muscular movements don't reprogram the neural pathways the way it does when your mind is focused on a very specific area and you're slowly and mindfully moving that area and really sensing into it and tuning into it. And I think that is critical, that doing 100 squats might build your muscles, but it doesn't necessarily help you to have interoceptive awareness and to really go into those numb areas to reconnect and reestablish relationship with body. That would come from one very, very slow squat with a lot of mindful attention and interoceptive awareness on, say, the hip or the low back or something like that. So I just wanted to throw that out there, because I think it's a pretty important thing for us to know that slow and subtle with a lot of attentional focus is one of the big keys to kind of reprogramming the neural pathways so that we can relate to our body again. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week, and we thank you for being with us, and we will talk soon. A way that you can help support the Yoga Therapy Hour. Our Optimal State mobile app is available for both Android and iPhone. We've really simplified the check-in process, and it's a way to track your nervous system regulation as well as your physical health and mental health. It can be part of your personal or professional practice. And by that, what we mean is that you might like to track your own nervous system, mental and physical health, and see the data for yourself, as well as receive interventions, do yoga nidras, breath work, meditation. All of it is on the app, and new content is being added all the time. But a second way you might like to use it is to recommend that your clients, your students, also use the app so that they can show you the data about their nervous system, about their mental and physical health. You can see where they've been in the weeks or months between the times that you meet with them as a practitioner. The app offers structured practices, self-assessment tools, and it's guided and rooted in yoga therapy and nervous system science. It's designed to help you track your state and begin to understand what shifts you and how to choose practices that will bring you back into balance. Whether you're using it for your own well-being or integrating it into the care for others that you offer, we'd love for you to come check it out and do the 3-week free trial. After that, it's about $5 a month. It's a tool that can support you and also the Yoga Therapy Hour podcast. Thanks for listening to this small way that you can support the Yoga Therapy Hour. We wish you a wonderful week. We hope that somehow, in a small way, we've contributed to your well-being so that you can go out and share that well-being with others. That's what life is all about, bringing in the goodness through you and then shining it out to the world. We need you more than ever. So let's all get out there, do good, be good, and have a great week.